Let's get into some business, shall we? I posted it twice. I know that kind of showed up at different times. So we have 4 sets of sets. It's similar to last week, sort of adding complexity to our movements. 6 per side single leg deadlifts with a row. And I'll explain what that means. And then 8 per side single leg glute bridges. You can add the weight or not. That's not critical, but we're reinforcing that butt squeeze basically. And then we have a side plank with a knee raise, 8 per side. And I'll explain what that is as well. We've done the side plank before, all of that. The knee raise we did last week, but we're going to do the knee raises for reps this time versus time. And then we have 5 rounds of 10 goblet squats, 10 half kneeling overhead press per side, so you can switch legs and arms, and then 10 V-sit lift-offs. So again, we did those last week, so we'll review those again if you weren't here. Before we start, we have some squatting, some hinging, and some pressing. Any concerns with those shapes? I think we're all good. No injuries, at least present. Let's start with the groundwork. We'll keep this brief. Which is the normal stuff. Let the spine bend and flex. And we'll 10 counts. Once you have 10 reps, you're actually staying in a tabletop position. And all I'm really going to do, I don't know, all these full body circles, I can't think of anything better, but essentially kind of just sitting back into my hips, just making circles with my hips, coming over, so sitting back over my hips, around. We're doing 5 per, five per direction. Back stays fairly flat here. I'll say 5 one direction, I'll go 5 the other direction. Just gently checking in, seeing how the hips, knees, and shoulders feel. The circles can be as big or as small as you want here. After you've done your 5 per side, let's do our alternating bird dogs. If you want to add some complexity, you're welcome to. You do that by extending the arm or leg. And then as you come in, instead of stopping at the tabletop, you can kind of bring the knee towards the elbow and the elbow towards the hip. You could stay on that side, right, for 5. Or you can go diagonally, right? Okay, from here, let's do our 90-90s. So that's where we sit down. Feet can be, the wider your feet are, I guess the more advanced in some respects. But whatever you find comfortable. Just gonna look very gentle. Check in for the hips. And again, we're doing about 10. If you do want to do more, you can do more. All right. Let's go ahead and follow this up with some glute bridges. So this is 2-footed just for now. Laying down, checking in with the hips, knees, and ankles. See how your hips are working. Use your butt. And then come down. Let's have you do 10 reps. Driving through both legs equally. If you're feeling a little stiff, that's okay. Just recognizing that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to standing this time. Adjust my screen here. And we're gonna go ahead and start with some reverse lunges. Okay, so here's the deal. You can put the foot down, or sorry, excuse me, you can bring your feet back together or skip that step. So I'm gonna show you from my hips down here. So my feet are together. I'm gonna step back into my lunge, right? And I can either keep my foot off the ground altogether, or that's too much, I can just bring my foot back together. Let's do 5 non-alternating. If we're gonna do the leg lift, that's great. Just like a, okay. Don't worry about that knee back, knee touching the ground. Find your balance first. We need to, in fact, have those feet at a stance where maybe hip width, hip to shoulder, so if you have a nice wide base of support. All right. So let's go ahead and review our movements, and we can always work into them. So we have our single leg deadlift, which I think we're all pretty familiar with at this point, with a row. Yeah, exactly. So the row element, forgive me, use a water bottle today since my weights are far, far away. So this is my imaginary weight in hand. And I'm going to have it, well, actually, the side you have it on is not critical, but I tend to load opposite of my standing leg. So as I sit back, whether my foot is down or up, I'm going to then, from here, row my dumbbell, kettlebell, stand back up, right? That's 1. So deadlift, row, come down, stand, right? So that's the general move. Yeah. So all we're really doing here is just adding some time in a balance, single leg balance position. So if the weight is a distraction, we can go a little lighter. It's okay if you just grab yourself a water bottle, make sure it's full. It's a little easier. And we are doing 6 reps per side. If lifting the leg is challenging enough, maybe that's all we do today, right? And if you need the toe down and you want to bias the row, keep that back foot down. There we go. Nice. It helps you turn that back foot down, Joseph. So when you're kicking back, just turn the toe slightly in, not a whole lot. Yeah. Or not out, I guess. Either way. Followed by our single leg glute bridges, right? It's pretty straightforward. We've done these a fair amount, but just in case. You can have your foot down or not. So when I'm doing this, my foot, this is my, I'll go right foot down first. I could have my foot completely lifted, or I can go ahead and keep that opposite foot down. It's just slightly in front of the other. Either way, whether you're doing kind of a kickstand or B stance or a full single leg glute bridge, let's do 8 reps per leg. And last but very not least, to keep you still moving here, our side plank. I think we're pretty familiar with the side plank at this point. The knee raise is just bringing that top knee towards your top hand. Oh. So full version, leg straight, my shoulders stacked over my shoulders, stacked over my elbow. And then I can put this hand up over my shoulder here. I'm going to raise my knee towards my elbow. That's 1, 2, right? You get the idea. We go to 8. If that's too much, we can drop the bottom knee, right? Same thing. Or just hold a side plank for approximately 20 to 30 seconds. If not, we can always switch to form. Yeah. sometimes it helps, again, to carry a light weight. Doesn't have to be heavy. So with the top hand, carrying a weight, again, you can't see it, that's not right, it gives you a sense of balance. So if this is my top hand, I can kind of use the weight in my top hand to keep this top joint stacked. So I have weight in this hand. That way I'll feel if anything changes. You don't need a lot. Usually 5 pounds is plenty, maybe less. Bringing 8 per direction, right? So 8 per side, essentially. That's 1 round. Let's have you do 3 more. Starting back at your single leg deadlifts and rows. 6 per side. So yeah, step 1, go ahead and sit back. That leg can be lifted or not. Step 2 is rowing with control. There we go. And standing back, feet together. And this one's okay to actually, this one's okay to mime as well. So whether or not, sorry about the trash trucks. It's okay to mime even if you're not necessarily lifting weights. You can just use your hand and pull back towards your hip.
What was the second one?
The second movement is 8 per side, single leg glute bridges. I know we're doing 3 movements this morning instead of 2. It's not normal, so. And again, both you're lifting your feet, which is great. If that gets a little too challenging or just too much, we can drop that top foot. Just make sure it's slightly in front of your driving leg. And it's okay to have a butt cheek or a side that's not quite as strong as the other. And the third movement is that side plank with 8 knee raises per direction or per side. And again, a side plank or a plank hold here is a decent substitution. So kind of finishing off round 2 and starting round 3. Nice. Like I said with the deadlifts, I tend to load opposite of my standing leg. If you're not that person, it's okay to switch your hand position. So don't feel like you have to conform to an idea. The weight you're carrying the hand in is not critical. You're welcome to try both and see if you have a preference. There we go. That looks great, mate. Nice job. That's okay. Yeah. If you need to, yeah, putting like hand on a mantle or handlebar in your case, totally fine. Just knowing it's there. Sometimes just like, it's like when you first learn to take your hand off your handlebars, right? You're like hovering, you're like, right, that kind of thing. Same idea. You can kind of hover your hands.
Yeah, it's for me, it's just getting the balance with the load at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's okay to, like, I just keep my feet down as long as I need to before I start to lift the foot. Usually is kind of my, you can call it a stall tactic, but it usually works, allows me to find a bit of balance first. Nice job. And we're doing 4 rounds of this instead of 3, which I know is a little, again, 1 more round than normal for this first portion. There you go. Yeah, if there's I say a side that is less coordinated, which I definitely have. I often start on that side, at least when I'm working out. I find it's makes doing the second half of that movement much easier. But these are last round of this.
I
So
think when you see my stability on my left leg, you understand why my hip was injured on my right. Because it was doing all the work.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I do now too.
Yeah, if you look at my left side altogether, you can see why my right knee hurt. My right side was doing all the work for my left side. Nice job. These are the last set of single leg glute bridges and the side plank with the knee raises. All right. You guys are matching today. Both wearing the same color blue. Or same family. Okay, so let's talk about the second part, right? I think goblet squats are pretty familiar with. That's where we carry our weight somewhere in front, right? Maybe kettlebell, dumbbell, whatever. Like I mentioned, you have 2 lighter weights, carrying them on your shoulders is fine, right? That's a great substitution if you want to do something with a little more challenge. If you have the option to use multiple weights here, you're more than welcome to. You're not stuck with one. If you are stuck with one, that's okay. Our half kneeling overhead press, so the half kneeling part is just the half kneel, right? That's just this. Again, the arm you have the object in is not critical. It's whatever you find you like best. I find the knee that's pushing into the ground. So the bottom leg, I prefer that personally. I'm going to show you from my chest up now. We're going to go ahead and half kneeling over press. So kettlebell, right? Kind of carry it in the corner. And then we press overhead. Dumbbell, similar idea. For anyone with a lighter kettlebell, or you want to make this kettlebell more challenging, carry it upright. So bottoms up. Again, you can't go super heavy with this. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want to go make it harder, a bottoms up press, it's just a little more challenging. Not necessarily bad, just harder. I have 18 here, and that's probably my limit on the upright kettlebell press personally. So that's our second movement, right? So Maggie, if you want to kind of shift that up a little bit. So how much does that weigh again? Remind me.
10.
10? Beautiful. If you want to make that 10 a little more challenging, you can hold the kettlebell.
I know, we've discussed this.
Okay, so it's a no. That's fine.
No, it's not hard,
Mm.
but I can tell that after multiple rounds, it's going to be. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. If you want to mix and match it, you can mix and match it too. But that's, I respect that. The last little piece that we have, well, I guess not haven't covered, we did last week, is the V-sit lift-offs. So this is one where legs are straight here. Now, if you can't sit with your legs straight, it's okay to sit with, it's a poor example, but bear with me. So I have a cookbook here. You can sit on something. So if you struggle with straightening the legs, lifting up your butt on a book can help you straighten your legs out. Okay. So that's an option. And then what we're going to do here is then put your hands somewhere, I would say next to you or slightly in front of you. And then we're going to point the toes and lift the legs. If this is too much, right, we can lift one leg at a time, right? So you can, and that can still count. So each leg lift counts as one. For anyone feeling super fancy, you could take an object, paw the object, the harder it is, and lift the legs over the object. You don't have to pick that option, but that's kind of, you can think advanced, if that's your cup of tea.
But your butt stays on the floor, correct?
Correct. You're just lifting your feet. Right.
Okay.
So we're doing 5 rounds of that. We're going to start with our goblet squats first and foremost. 10 reps of each thing. So 10 goblet squats, 10 half kneeling overhead presses, that's per side. And then 10 V-sit lift-offs. These can also just be air squats if we don't want to add weight to them. That's also fine. But once we have about 2 kettlebell users, go ahead and bring that thumb just towards the edge of the shoulder or towards the sternum. Doesn't matter. So between sternum and shoulder joint, doesn't really matter where, right? It's a matter of taste. But instead of that kettlebell sitting on the bicep, one also sitting on the forearm as well. Go. Nice job. Not half kneeling, just gently squeezing the butt on the bottom, sheeting on the bottom leg, just to support that position. And the V-sit lift-offs, 10 reps. Again, you can go one leg at a time if you want. Each leg lift is 1. Woo! You're now officially gymnasts. You're welcome. You can add another sport to your resume.
My quads are starting to look good.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. You have to flex the quads to make them lift up.
Yeah.
The first time I tried these, I'm like, these can't be so bad. And then I was like, these are terrible. Turns out your legs are kind of heavy. Nice. Go use eyes forward. There you go. Instead of looking down. Nice. There we go. The 10 per side overhead press from a half kneeling position, it is okay if you rest within those set of 10, right? So as long as you complete 10 before you switch, the way you do that is not explicitly meant or has to be done without taking rest. Nice.
So
Yeah, flexing or pointing the toes on the leg lifts are up to you. I think as long as you just pick. I tend to point because I think flexing the toes or pulling the toes back is a little hamstringy. Pointing the toe is a little more quaddy. Eyes forward on the squats. There we go. Half kneeling position you're both taking is a great kind of, I would say, break from all that hip flexor work that you were doing so far. So you can think of it as part work and part stretch for the hips. Nice, Meg.
holy moly.
Yeah, they get spicy. And like anything else, if you need to adjust difficulty or overall volume, that's okay. Go ahead and adjust the volume. Especially based on what you have in your training plan for the day. Good. Eyes forward, chest is up. Yeah, there it is. If you were looking in a mirror, you see that word, the word vegan from your shirt. Nice job. There should be some time at the end to do some rolling out too, just in case. You're gonna feel extra. Just in case you feel extra stiff today. There you go. Nice. The lift offs don't have to be a huge height, by the way. Just lifting the feet off the ground, coming back down. Nice.
Oh my God.
Last set, and then we get solid recovery. So we'll make sure that we get we'll roll out, definitely roll out the quads and the kind of leading the hip flexor a little bit. Nice. Good positioning. Excellent. Nice. Good catch. I was wondering how I was going to go.
You and me both.
Don't worry, you're not on camera. It's fine. No one can see.
Fortunately, it's only styrofoam.
That's true. That's true. Last leg lifts. You got this. So in terms of recovery or kind of rolling out, obviously foam roll is a great option. If you have some kind of, I say ball, that's fine too. So we'll kind of go through different options for people with different options.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Hold on.
Where's my little toolkit here? All right. Go for the classic foam roller first. I think that's a fair thing. Back to you. Yeah, calves are good. We definitely still get the hip to open up the hips a little after all that. So of course you can always roll out your quads. You could, it's okay for rolling your calves back, but just in general, right? Post, especially this particular workout, front of the leg, always a good option. Few options for the hip flexor or the high quad. This is sort of a squishy ball. If you have something like a Pilates ball, it's kind of like that. What that is. You know, this little dude kind of about a softball size. But same principle applies. You can lay on that around the hip. And then you can just kind of let, it's more gentle. But you can kind of lay on that. You can also inflate the ball more, of course. It's just a little squishy at the moment. This one's a little tough, but doable. A little more cute. So I post up on my arms a little more. Can bend my leg. It's a little more specific in spots. And then whether you have a foam roller or a ball, I highly recommend just doing a figure 4. So that's just doing, you know, just a figure 4, right? This way, or getting your ball in there. So kind of just pitting it and rolling around. Now that's a bonus. The ball's not necessary. Or even your foam roller. That works fine too. Just don't roll off the side, right? So same idea. Right. So I would say pick it's your mobility or stretch of choice, obviously biasing what you need. But I would recommend whatever body part you're going for. So let's say quad or hip flexor, do the opposite side. So whether that's hamstring or your butt. So doing kind of both sides is always nice. How was that volume for you guys today? Was that okay? Yeah, okay.
I was glad it was over. Don't get me wrong.
That's fair. I understand that.